Welcome to the TLC Talk, a podcast by Ohio 4-H Teens. Hello, everyone. My name is Wyatt Morrow, and I am the Communications Committee Chair for the Ohio 4-H Teen Leadership Council. In this interview, I have Natalie Pham and Natalie Jungers. They are both Advocacy Committee members for the Ohio 4-H Teen Leadership Council, and today they're going to be talking about their 4-H experiences and what they were able to do with their committee at the Ohio 4-H Conference this year. So first, Natalie Pham, if you want to go ahead and give an introduction of yourself.
Yes, thank you, Wyatt. So, as he said, my name is Natalie Pham, and I am a 4-H'er in Summit County, which is the Akron area, if you guys are all more familiar with that. And within my county, I've been doing 4-H for about 7, 8 years at this point. And the thing about Summit County is it's much more urban. We are not a traditional agricultural area. So 4-H looks a little bit more unique. We have a smaller fair. We have one livestock barn where all of our livestock is. So getting involved in 4-H was sort of a unique experience for me because I started like with the cooking, I started with the leadership projects, and I did eventually work my way up to taking a dairy goat. But for me, 4-H has always been about how you develop as a person, really taking advantage of all the opportunities that help you grow socially, help you improve your public speaking skills, how you work with others, how you grow as a person. So some opportunities I've gotten involved with at my county level to sort of help with that development is, obviously junior fair boards. I'm on our county's 4-H advisory board, so I'm the only youth member of that currently. I serve as fair royalty. I've served as an officer in my 4-H club, which is a horse club, actually. I don't ride horses, but I've served as president for that for a while, recently passed on the torch there. And then the Ohio Teen Leadership Council is actually my first really big state opportunity, and I'm really glad I got involved with that. Sort of a spur of a moment kind of decision that one of my friends who I met doing a national opportunity, which was the National 4-H Conference in DC. He sort of told me that I should do this, that I would like it, and that there would be so many great opportunities, and I'm very glad I did because he was not lying. I've gotten to meet a lot of great people and do a lot of great things. So once again, sort of further that development that I was saying I truly value. And then back to that national opportunity with the National 4-H Conference, by far my favorite event ever within 4-H. I thought it was so cool to meet people who were 4-H from around the globe, which I did not know was a thing. I did not know that you could have like 4-H on a military camp, and then suddenly there's someone from Germany, and then we like connect over 4-H, and seeing what 4-H means to everybody from everywhere, and then also really getting to advocate for an issue you are passionate about to our world leaders in DC. So that has been one of my favorite sort of experiences so far, and that's sort of my journey from county, state to national level being involved.
Now, just a quick follow-up question. What was your roundtable topic during National 4-H Conference?
So the way that it worked my year is that we did get to put sort of our top options. And I know that what I put for my top option wasn't everybody's favorite, but I am an accounting major, so I guess it sort of made sense. Mine was economic savings and asset building with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So my group was tasked with sort of how do we help youth who are not necessarily taught proper financial tools, or how you can save and the importance of saving, how you can sort of implement that early on within their education and build those habits that will be maintained throughout life, and down the line also help with the asset building. Home ownership is a lot more rare nowadays. It's so hard to own a car. It's the concept of owning versus renting, and we sort of wanted to funnel that, like, you can build these savings and build these good habits. One day you'll be able to build the asset owning and the asset building that will help increase your net worth, your wealth. That is the true indicator of financial security.
That's fantastic. That sounds like such a fun topic, especially with you being an accounting major. I bet that helped a lot, giving you a little bit of experience before heading to college.
Great. Like exactly like what you said. There's so many things within 4-H that get you ready for things that are years down the line that you're not even considering at that moment. And I know that I had a number of younger girls in my group who weren't that excited because once again, it's sort of a dry topic when you first think of it. They were like, this wasn't my top three. But then once we were finished, they're like, I'm so grateful to have had this experience because even if I wasn't expecting to like it, even if I didn't think that I would learn anything, they themselves learned a lot from having to do that research, having to put themselves in that position, and they came out for a deeper appreciation of the topic we were talking about.
Absolutely. So going forward, Natalie Jungers, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, where you're from, some county, state, and national opportunities that you've participated in.
Absolutely, thank you. As you said, my name's Natalie Jungers. I live in Licking County, around Central Ohio. This is my ninth year in 4-H. As on the county level, I'm involved obviously in my 4-H club. I have been the president for the last 2 years, which is really exciting because we have such a young 4-H club. Most people are on the age of 12. It's really exciting. I'm of course involved in my junior fair board. I was elected president this year. We have several committees on our junior fair board. I'm in the rabbit poultry committee as well as our junior fair activities committee. For fair projects, I'm really into still projects. I started out 4-H taking lots of still projects, such as cake decorating, make over my space. I took the laundry project, which was really fun because I got to set fire to clothing, which was quite interesting. And then I kind of worked my way up to some livestock projects, and I've taken tons of different poultry, sheep, and I'm looking forward to taking a market goat this year. So that'll be really exciting and new. On a state level, of course, I'm involved in TLC, which also, like Natalie, kind of a spur of the moment. Some people from my county encouraged me to apply, and I'm also really glad I did. Just this past year, I've met so many amazing people from all over the state of Ohio and just in ways I never would have imagined. Also, on a state level, I'm involved in a lot of state camps. That's primarily what I've done for the past few years. I went to Sea Camp last summer, which was probably one of my favorite 4-H experiences. And I got to meet, again, lots of amazing people. And I also got to meet a really amazing geologist who actually wrote one of our 4-H books and is in the Hall of Fame, which was really sweet. 2 years ago, I went to Citizenship Washington Focus as a state camp and really kind of got to immerse myself in our nation's capital for the first time, which is a really cool experience, learning about all the symbolism and stuff in DC and all the monuments. By far, probably my most exciting 4-H opportunity was traveling to Puerto Rico this past November as a cultural immersion program. It was definitely the highlight of probably my 4-H career. 10 people from Ohio came, and we also had 4 Minnesota teams. So it was really fun to kind of talk about what 4-H is like there and what it's like in Ohio, as well as the differences within Ohio itself. And then in Puerto Rico, we also met 4-H youth, and it was so interesting because since we met them in San Juan, they have no livestock or agriculture quite really, so it's very club based. And they had about 300 members at their school, and you can only do it in high school, which is really interesting. But besides 4-H in Puerto Rico, we really also got to see a lot of the culture and the differences and similarities was really amazing. So, yeah,
Those sound like really fantastic opportunities. I heard that a lot of people really enjoyed that Puerto Rico trip, and it sounds like a lot of fun. All right,
absolutely.
so going next, Natalie Pham, who was the guest that you showed around conference, and where were they from?
So I had the great privilege to show around Tracy Intihar. She is the Assistant Director of the Ohio Department of Agriculture, and she came to represent Brian Baldridge, who is the current serving director. He unfortunately couldn't make it, but having Tracy there was so great because she got to share a lot about what the Ohio Department of Agriculture truly does and advocates for. And I got to share with her sort of how 4-H has developed since she herself was a 4-Her. She was sort of like me and was an untraditional 4-Her. He never really got into animals, despite her family did live on a farm, so she had a bit of a leg up against me. But she did a lot of the still life too, like Natalie, a lot of the sewing, a lot of the cooking, and so we got to talk a lot about that. But we sort of started the conversation off with what does the Ohio Department of Agriculture do? Because what do you really do? I mean, it's such a sort of broad idea. Nobody could really pinpoint it. So she talked a lot about their work partnering with different organizations. So something we really talked about, because I know a few people in me and Natalie's committee have an interest in bees. We talked a lot about beekeepers associations across Ohio and how they advocate and sort of promote, and they sort of are like so you have the beekeepers associations who do their own advocating within each county, sort of spread their message. Whereas then the Ohio Department of Agriculture will act as a somewhat liaison between the policy and making sure everything will be smooth operating. So she talked a lot about how you never really consider their role because it seems somewhat behind the scenes, but they're there for everything. They're there with the solar eclipse coming up, running straight through Ohio. They've been putting out materials for farmers who are possibly considering renting out their land for citizens to go watch. What does it mean to sort of rent out your land? What are the liabilities? So like you would really never consider the Ohio Department of Agriculture to be doing that, but because it's the community they're looking out for, they're making sure that farmers who may be considering this have the proper tools and resources to go about putting out their land in a safe way. So she sort of talked a lot about her role, their role, that's, we don't see it every day, but it's always there in everything we do because like that role, agriculture is always there no matter what we do. That's sort of a cliche to say, but it's really not a lie. So I think that was really cool and interesting because I really didn't know what they do. It's another government agency and it's very hard to sort of pinpoint that. But part of my favorite things to sort of talk about with her was the development of 4-H because it had been a long time since she really had been around it. She didn't really know what was going on with it anymore. And I remember my favorite part of like showing her around the conference was we had our project book writers, we had all the editors and the people there sort of showing off, doing like little surveys, like how do you like your project book and everything. And fun fact about Ohio, we offer the most different project books for of any state for a kid to take. So we are at the birth of it all, so we really got to represent and sort of lead the charge. So we sort of have that great thing about us that we offer so many areas for these kids to learn and develop in. And I think for Tracy, it was sort of crazy for her to be, looking at the boards and having these conversations and being like, I never had that project, but now you guys do like the beekeeping one, it's crazy that like a little 8-year-old can go get involved with the hives and they can really start their own new thing. And I think that she really sort of enjoyed seeing that. And I appreciated being able to show her that 4-H from what it was once has now developed into truly like living up to its motto, making the best better. We're continually improving to be an organization that just offers everything that you could really imagine yourself needing or wanting to try. So I think that was a really like important part of our conversation, sort of like similar to what the Ohio Department of Agriculture does. You don't really think of it as being so impactful, but there's just so much behind the scenes that happens that like it just it's mind blowing that what one day when you do notice it, what that organization has done for you.
Absolutely. I think one of my favorite parts, seeing the work that the Ohio Department of Agriculture has done before is seeing all their collaborative efforts, like you said, behind the scenes and, with like different commodity groups, like you said, bees. You never think of that, within agriculture and stuff, but it is definitely. And
Mhm.
their efforts, kind of working with that, that is very, very interesting. And your committee has, like we talked before with your committee chair, Ari, been able to attend a conference with beekeepers and things like that. And it's very interesting. Bees are very prominent right now, so it's super cool to see.
No, I love it.
All right, so Natalie Jungers, who was the guest that you showed around conference? What did you learn about their organization, and what were you able to teach them about 4-H?
Absolutely. So I showed around Emily Smith, and she's the public affairs director at Intel. Licking County actually has been really close with Intel in the past few years as they have moved in right in our backyard. They're about 10 minutes away from our fair. So what's really neat that I think about Emily and the Intel community in Licking County is they've really tried to get involved with our fair instead of kind of nudging us aside. And they've really started helping. They moved into a barn at our fair and are setting up posters and signs to show what Intel actually does. And if you don't know, Intel is a chip facility. It was a big national project, and they really want to get chips onto the United States soil. So it's kind of a big change, definitely for our county, definitely for Ohio. The facility will be completed around 2026, so it's kind of still in the process, but it's hoping to bring a lot of jobs in. So over the past year, especially as Fair Queen, I've really gotten to know Emily as well as Toby, who couldn't make it, and really interact with them and show them what 4-H means to us. And at the conference, so two of our Licking County people, Aubrey and Travis, were Teen of the Year, which Emily has known for the past year and a half, which is so she really loved seeing what that was. She didn't understand kind of what that award was and what it meant. So it was really cool to kind of bring into that there's so much in 4-H, there's so much you can achieve. And I also was really happy to tell her what TLC does. I really got to show her kind of our part in Ohio 4-H, and I think she really appreciated that.
Absolutely. It's really great getting to have intel into kind of a pun there of like kind of showing them what 4-H does and what we do as a council. I think that's really important, especially for what your committee is doing, what advocacy stands for, and kind of showing these organizations what 4-H is evolving into and what our council does. So we appreciate you guys so much for doing that and showing everyone around conference and teaching them about 4-H and TLC. My last question for both of you is what advice do you have for members? We'll start with Natalie Pham.
I would say this is like it's such like broad advice and you don't really consider it that deeply, but it truly makes all the difference to just get involved and be willing to try it, to be willing to go out and say, I'm not so sure. I don't know if this is going to be my thing. Like driving to Columbus once a month, it does sort of seem like a lot at the time, but it's become one of my favorite drives. I can do it in my sleep, and I think really like if you just put yourself in a position where you at least try it. Okay, you don't have to love everything you do, but you need to be willing to try it because there's so many doors will open. You'll meet so many great people. Something that I sort of wanted to say earlier when me and Natalie were both talking about sort of like doing this on the spur of the moment TLC and then getting to meet so many great people. It is, I can't go drive through a county now without thinking of, oh, I know someone who lives in this county, or going to a different event and being, oh, I know someone here. Like me and Natalie were both Bear Queens this year and we got to go to OFMA. So many of our like fellow TLC members were there and we were all getting to support each other in this way. And then even Wyatt came down to support us during the one night. So I think when you are willing to say yes to something, you're gonna open your like self to a whole new community, to so many different opportunities. I would have never thought I got to meet the Department of Agriculture's Assistant Director Tracy, or present to a government agency in DC. So I think for at any level, county, state, or national, if you're a member of 4-H or any other sort of agricultural organization like an FFA, you need to be willing to just try things. You don't need to come out of it loving it or come up with a reason that it was so great, but you need to be willing to try it and learn something from it.
Absolutely. That's a very great point to bring up is you just got to try it. You just got to go for it. And that's all what 4-H is about is just going for it and trying all these new opportunities. All right, so Natalie Jungers, to finish it out, what advice do you have for 4-H members?
So my advice, of course, is very similar, but it's just jump in feet first, don't look back. There's so many things out there, so many things I applied for on a whim. I applied for Fair Queen thinking, oh, I'm never going to get it. I applied for TLC thinking, oh, what's the worst that could happen? Applied to Puerto Rico thinking, oh, there's no way it's going to happen. And little by little, like all these amazing things kind of fell into place. And I think you don't realize how much there's to offer until you truly like fully immerse yourself in it. And I think that's the wonderful thing about 4-H is there's truly anything you can do, anything you think of, you can do in 4-H.
Absolutely. There's so many different areas now. And my favorite thing to tell kids, like when we go in to, work with third graders, when we visit schools, is if there's not a project that you can find in the project book, there is one that you can make up yourself through like self-determined projects, and that blows their minds, and it just shows you how many opportunities there is in 4-H. So again, thank you guys so much for this interview, for showing us what your committee has been doing, what you guys got to do at conference, and sharing your 4-H experiences. It's very much appreciated. So thank you guys again.